was like the perfect song, and you let us sing along. Now you're gone, but your spirit soars in our hearts forevermore.
Hi, welcome to I Pressed On, a show about depression and changing the word into something more positive. I'm Brian Chrysagas, and this is my co-host Brooke Corbett, and today I am very excited about the show we have. It's going to touch many people's lives. It's a wonderful testimony of God's unending love and the resilience of one man who has gone through hell and back. And he's gone from he was Kim Kardashian's bodyguard. He's an actor, he's a model, and he has become an activist for many things that sexual abuse in the past and several things that Hollywood hides,
right,
that John David Gregory has been through. Yes. Yeah. And I'm just so happy. He's been an old friend of mine, and I'm so happy that he agreed to be on the show and to be so open. His name is John David Gregory.
I'm excited to see it.
I'm so happy you're here.
I am so honored to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, but just to even finally see you like live or in the verse.
Live and in person. I feel the same way about you. We've known each other for, am I wrong? We've known each other, I think it was either the early 2000s or the late 1990s.
and you haven't aged a bit.
Thanks. Neither of you, actually. And with the right amount of lighting, I could keep on getting younger.
Let's go. That's right.
But you have had such an amazing life journey. And you could look back and not realize everything that happened in your life, that God had a hand in watching over you because he protected you. But I would love for you to start at the very beginning. When did you first start encountering certain things that were going on in your life that you knew that it was wrong?
Yeah, it's such a heavy topic, and at the same time, it's very freeing. I realize every time I kind of bring it up, and actually, I feel like I get another layer of healing each time I share it. I could probably tell it 100 times, and it's just still another layer of healing. I still think it's a lifetime journey of healing in this regard. When someone takes a part of you that you can never get back, only God can redeem that and restore that. So, as far as I remember, even when I was young, I was a young boy, and my parents had a great. They had friends come over all the time, and and one of their friends had a son, and he would come over, and he'd come up, and it started at an early age. He would come over to my house and come up to my bedroom, and and that's where I was first introduced to pornography. And he would show me pornography and things, and then he would start to try to do things to me. But I was so young. I was in like I want to say maybe somewhere between 10 and 11 at that age, as we were getting older together, and then he would he start touching me and doing things, and I was like, and when you're in that young stage, you don't know, like, he's like, it was almost like, it's no big deal, kind of like two kids hanging out, and he would tend to start to molest me and do certain things to me, and then it went on for years and years and years, and up until the point of where I used to just tell my dad when I knew they were coming over, I was like, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see so-and-so because I'd rather not. And like, and I never would tell him. I would never tell him why. I would always try to be out with a friend somewhere else or whatnot. And eventually it kind of carried, up until grade school even. And then where that kind of parlayed into, it's weird. It's kind of like, it's almost like it starts attracting to you, that spirit. And if I get just trying to just go through the timeline gently here, so I don't leave anything out. I started suppressing all of that because it starts happening so much. Then you start hearing things, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. And as a young boy, I'm like, and I hear people talk about people being gay and this and that, and I'm like, am I gay? Is there something wrong? But I'm like, no, but I'm attracted to women. But yet this stuff keeps happening. This is kind of a recurring thing that would keep happening. So, and then I became very popular. I was, a star basketball and football player in grade school, and I gained a lot of attention in the local high school scene, where a lot of the Catholic schools were very interested in me. And one particular coach in general, just for the sake of this, I'll leave names out, but he was on the opposing team, and he would always come up to me after the game, and he would always say, "Hey, you should consider going to the other Catholic school across town." And I was like, "No, I'm good. I think I'm going to go over here." But he would always approach me and approach me and approach me. And then finally one day, we beat his team again, my team, in the sixth grade. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you come over to or seventh grade? I want you to come over to my house. I'm going to have a bunch of kids from my team over. They really want to talk to you about this other school that that you would consider going to high school here." And I apologize. I believe this was around my eighth grade year. So my parents, and they're like, "Oh, you should just do it," and no knock against them. Nobody's thinking anything. I didn't think anything. So I go over there to this pizza party at this coach's house from a grade school across town. And all these players are there, and they're being friends with me, being kind, and telling me, "Hey, you should think about going to the same high school with us. You playing with our in high school, we could dominate," and all this. And so it was very convincing. And one by one, the players started leaving. And then he's like, "Oh, you don't have to call your mom. I'll take you home." And little by little by little, next thing you know, I was the last one there. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and he came over and just sit next to me on the couch. And he just kind of looked at me, and he was, and I had an injury in my leg. And he started going, "How's your leg?" And "Oh, it's a little sore, but I'll be okay." And he goes, "Let me see." I was like kind of high up on my thigh, and he's looking at it. He kind of touched it and started, massaging it for a second. And he goes, and then he just kept doing it, and he kept doing it. And, and then, and at that age, your body reacts,
Yes.
and I just kind of sat there frozen, couldn't respond. I kind of just sat back. I had obviously a response, physical response to what he was doing. And he proceeded to, do what he did to me, in that moment. And I just kind of sat there frozen,
Yes.
and then it was like, when we were done, and he just used his hand or whatever. And then it was like, "Okay." And it was like nothing ever happened. "Oh, hey, well, it's great to have you here. Let's go. I'll take you home." And he drove me home, and that was that. And I remember going with, "What the heck? What the heck?"
Yeah.
And then it would a couple other times. Here's the crazy part. And you know what? This is why I struggled, because he would invite me over again, and I would go back.
Yes.
Why did I do that? I was an
Well,
idiot. I don't know.
I think, truthfully, because I've talked to several people who do go back, and there is part of it that we all want to feel affirmed. There's a part of us that all of us, there's a need for all of us to feel important or special. And when we get that kind of attention, no matter if it's bad or not, sometimes we gravitate to it. And especially since it's already been part of something that happened before, the familiar spirits grab hold of you. And so you go back. Yeah. So I know that me and Sean, when we were working in Hollywood, we had one spirit would attract another spirit. And I don't know if you remember Joanne Flug, but we worked for Joanne Flug from Candid Camera. And she became a real spiritual leader in so many ways, that she knew spiritual warfare. And she talked to us, and she says, "Guys, do you realize that you have all spirits coming after you? Because one of the people you gathered was into pornography. One person was into another sexual thing. Another person. So all of these things are now layered upon layer upon layer on you. And we never realized it." So she says, you have to, she took the sword of the spirit, and she started cutting off spiritual things, off of us. And we never even saw it like that. But she did some spiritual warfare. And she said, it's because in the spirit realm, you don't see it, but people who are into the spirits, they see it. And even the evil spirits can see you as a victim, or see you as a sexual whatever. So, and then we become programmed in our mind, oh, they like me because I'm sexy, or they like me because I'm good looking. So that becomes your what do you call it? Your value,
Your identity.
your identity.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah, because he was an
Yeah.
athlete.
Absolutely.
And then we pursue that. Very same similar situation for myself. At the hands of one of my uncle's best friends. Paralyzed, afraid to tell anybody.
Yep.
And
It's tough, you know. I mean, it just started, and the crazy thing, it just kind of like started gaining momentum and speed, and to the point where it happened probably 2 or 3 other times, and then I ended up deciding to go to that school, that high school where all those guys were at, and I, instead of going to the other one, and then lo and behold, he became a freshman football coach at our
Wow.
school, on the offensive line coach, and then we had to take physicals, right, to get on the football team. And I can remember this like it was yesterday. He's sitting there with the doctor
Wow.
as we dropped our pants,
Wow.
and they gave us a check, you know,
Yes.
the physical, the cough, turn your head and cough. I'm like, now I look at it as a man, I think about that and I go, what in the world?
Wow.
You know, and so from there, I would never, you know, I'd never let that happen again at that point with him, but he would kind of like always hint to it and hint to it and hint to it, until finally I became really good friends with one of the priests at the school, and to the point where it was just bothering me so bad. One day I was just kind of, he asked me, he's like, hey, are you okay? You don't look really good. And I'm like, I'm just really upset about some things. And he invited me over to the priest's house and gave me a Miller Lite. And, you know, I was like, I had never really drank either. And so it was kind of like the first time I really had a true beer was there. And I mean, my parents were very strict growing up and stuff like that. So I didn't drink at all, you know, growing up in high school. And so, and then when I'm at the priest's house, he said, I started to tell him what happened with this coach. And I said, I don't know what to do. You know, it's happened to me. And he goes, well, show me what happened. I go, what do you mean show you? Well, show me what he would do. Show me. Well, and then he was like, and he come over to me. He's like, okay, pretend I'm him. Show me, put my hand where what he would do. And the very same thing happened to me again.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So,
John, I wanted to just say, I want to applaud you, and I also want to applaud Brooke, because men don't talk about these things. Women will talk about it, and they were ashamed at one time. But for men to talk about either physical, sexual, or any kind of abuse, it's very difficult, because men have a very difficult time sharing their feelings. So I applaud you for being an open book about it.
you know, I thank you for saying that, but I held it for a long time. And that's kind of what my life, over half of my life, I've struggled. And it led me on a very, very dark path. You know, I grew up a Christian. So there was a tug of war for me now. And when I got out of high school, my parents made me go to this small Christian school in Indiana called Anderson University. I went there for a semester. Loved the people, hated everything else, because all I could think about was playing for Kentucky. And then when I found out that Rick Pitino, Kentucky was suspended, they were going to go on postseason. They weren't going to be able to play in the tournament, so all the players left, and they were just putting an open call, like a casting call. Hey, come play for the University of Kentucky, which is nuts. That sounds crazy for a big school like that. So I just I sent a tape into them, and next thing you know, I got a call, and I ended up trying to walk on that Kentucky basketball team when Coach Rick Pitino's first year. As I always say, I was the last man cut. I played all summer with the team and the guys that were trying to try out, but it broke my heart. And so when that broke my heart, on top of everything else, I was left. I mean, I was such a wounded bird. And then I tried to walk on the football team, which they did take me. I was like, how does Joe try to play football? So I was very fortunate to walk on Kentucky's football team as a non-scholarship player. But even with after a year, it was not. I was like, I was still struggling. I wasn't the star. It was just I couldn't find that happy place, and until I went to the theater, and I started. I seen Ashley Judd was an alumnus, and I started taking theater classes, and I fell in love with acting. During the middle of all that, I was partying nonstop and out in the nightclubs in Lexington. And one night, someone approached me and I said, "Hey, have you ever thought about dancing before?" And I'm like, and I thought, man, is this guy hitting on me? And immediately I got angry and I was like, "Hey, I'm not gay. Why are you talking to me like that?" And he's like, "No, no, no. Like, you dance for females and make money. Like, I don't know if you ever heard like a male review." And I didn't know what that was. I was, 21 years old. And so he said, "If you'll trust me and get in the car, I'll take you to it," which I can't believe I did. So I
Yes.
ended up going to this bar, and I saw these guys dancing, and they surprised me and threw me. They said, "Hey, we got a guest here tonight, ladies. You want to see if if you like him?" And I'm like, "What? I just here to watch the show." I was, and they went up, and I just, you know, I put the reason I'm smiling is I went up there and I tore it up, and and uh, and that white men can't dance thing didn't apply to me. So I had the moves and the grooves, and the crowd loved me, and basically the group offered me a job. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, what do I do? And even this goes against my Christian values and everything I'm doing. I'm going to school at UK, but I finally I ended up quitting school and just dove full time into this world of, sex and dancing and drugs and women and everything else. And it was just a nonstop, for many, many, many years. And it was until about 1996. I literally just woke up one day, and I was like, and I know I'd been high on coke. I was just at the bottom of the bottom, in and out of girl relationships, and and I was like, if I don't get out of here, I'm gonna die. And I literally was like, I remember telling my parents, I'm gonna pack my bags and head west. That dream, that when I remember that Ashley Judd, and I remember, what I've seen, and I moved. I did. I literally packed everything up and moved out to LA. And and then it's funny because I came out and had some instant success, and some great, and those are really some cool stories that I like to tell with Tom Hanks and some of the soap operas and this and that. But it's so crazy because how we started this whole conversation is it found me again, and an assistant casting director after an audition wanted my number, and hey, I can help you get in more. And one thing leads to the other, and this is the hardest part for me to just sit here and admit to you guys, flat out. You know what? But I know that that's not who I am anymore. And but I did. Next thing you know, I'm up in this guy's house and doing drugs and doing crystal meth and looking at pornography and gay pornography, and he's doing all kinds of things to me, and I would just literally be so high, going, "What am I doing?"
I'm honored that you're sharing this and that you're being so real with it, because there are so many people who are sitting there watching and they love Jesus. They love the Lord and they want to serve the Lord. It's like what Paul said, I do what I don't want to do, but I do it anyway. I'm
Yeah.
battling
Oh,
myself. And
totally.
all of us have something, not one of us, so nobody can cast stones on you for anything, because all of us have our breaking points. All of us have our moments of weakness. And I heard somebody say, don't ever allow yourself to get too tired, too weary, too alone, too fragile. Any time it's in the twos, you're in trouble. And that's when
Yeah.
Satan uses his way to get you to submit in your two moments, because we are human. God made us frail so that we would depend on him. But when we take our eyes off him, once again, even Jesus in his moments of weakness, Satan came and said, bow down to me and I'll give you all this. I'll give you everything. Remember? So
Yeah.
if he could try to tempt Jesus, how much more is he going to try to tempt us with, fame and glory and women or men or whatever? Because we
Yeah.
all need something in our life to fill a void that we're missing.
Well, just to kind of, summarize, I mean, these kind of things, kind of happen to me periodically, and I got really hooked on the crystal meth, and there was a point where I literally was so scared of this guy because I knew if I was at that point again where if I didn't break out of this cycle, it was going to kill me. And I remember I was in my apartment in Brentwood, and I remember I was so embarrassed. See, the thing is, I was in shame when I would come off the high. I was so shamed Like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm not gay. But people would tend, if anyone hears and say, oh yeah, sure you are. That's what you did. I was like, but in my heart, I was like, these things kept happening to me. I never sought them out. They just kept coming to me. And then
Yes.
I would I would get myself in this mess and I couldn't get
Yes.
out of it. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, it was like I remember I was on one night in Brentwood in my apartment, and I had done meth for a couple days, and I was just so depressed. I was almost trying to kill myself. I was literally so depressed. Nothing was going on in my life, and but all of a sudden, I remember my heart rate picking up so fast that I thought, oh my gosh, like this, I got this flushed feeling, and I thought, I think I'm gonna die. Like it was speeding. I took my pulse. It was do 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 do, and I literally hit my knees because I thought, oh, this is it. I'm going to die of an overdose. And I lifted my hands, and it sounds like so, and this is not made up. This is not trying to sound glorious for, because I'm a Hollywood guy, but this is I literally lifted my hands and I cried out to God because that's the only way I knew to go. And I just was like, God, help me. I don't even remember what I
Yes.
said. I just know I cried out to God, please save me, in so many words. And it was like at that moment, it was like a hot oil hit the top of my head, flushed my whole body down to where it was like literally like somebody pouring baby oil over you and with a blow dryer. It was like oil and hot. And
Yeah.
I wasn't I grew up Baptist and went to a Catholic school, so I didn't know anything about spirit filled. I didn't know anything about Sharabasa Narabasa, So it was like, so I'm like, what is this feeling, And literally, I just started feeling myself, and I think I passed out. I don't remember, but I woke up and I ran to the bathroom and started feeling my pulse, and it was completely normal. And anyone that knows anything about that drug, that stays in your system for so long. And I completely sobered up on the spot that morning. And I mean, and the story can go on, but the gist of all of that was, I literally, these were all things that stemmed from that very first thing from when I was a boy.
Absolutely.
And I had broken a relationship. I couldn't keep a relationship to save my life.
But at
Series
the
of
same
relationships
time,
and
John, that
relationships.
didn't define who you were. Those were circumstances, but it doesn't define who you are. And we battle against flesh and blood, and we battle against principalities. We don't battle against flesh and blood. We battle against principalities and
Realities of
powers. That's what the Bible
darkness.
says.
Yeah.
You are battling against something that is much bigger and much. That's why we need to be prayed up. Every day we need to be
Amen.
prayed up because those same spirits will. We used to say, "Isn't it amazing? Those same spirits chase us. Every spirit that we had as a child chases us until our death, but it's different faces with the same spirit." Did you ever
Yep.
notice
Oh,
that?
1000%. Oh,
Yeah.
I see the same characters. It's the same characters, but a different face.
Yes. That's it.
And
So
they're in different
so
seasons of my life. Those same characters have showed back up,
Yeah,
but they look different now.
and I wanted you to address before we close. You have to approach the man that did something to you. Just a few years ago, I remember you posted on your Facebook that you were going to address him, and you needed prayer. And could you please tell, because there had to be a
Yeah.
freeing, because once it was exposed, you were free.
Before my mom passed away, she passed away recently, but before that, she had reached out to me and said there was an article in the local paper in Louisville, Kentucky, and they were asking for people to come forward about this one particular coach. And I saw it, and she called me and goes, "Can you believe this about him?" And I literally went, "Mom, I have to tell you something.
Wow.
I'm one of those guys." She was like, "What?" "No." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry I never told you." And we cried, and I ended up calling the number, and this was like 20 years later, it's like, so, I ended up following up with it, and had to speak to a detective in Louisville, and it was terrible. Then next thing you know, I had to get an attorney, and then it was crazy because one of them, the coach, actually, they did what was called an offered plea. I didn't have to go there. They just kind of looped in mine onto his and
Wow.
gave him some jail time. And because honestly, again, I didn't want to get drugged and stuck up on a stand and see him and go through all that. And I wasn't looking for fame. I wasn't looking for any media attention from it all, but it ended up getting some. And then I would get these nasty, nasty messages from former people from my high school, unfortunately. And this is not a knock against my high school. So if anybody hears this, I'm not knocking my high school. I still love my high school, and I have dear friends still there in faculty I'm still very good friends with. But there was just some people that came after me and were like, how dare you? You know, this person was beloved, you know, and all. I'm like, what? They're like, oh, well, you work for Kim Kardashian, so, you know, that's part of who you are, and you're just drama. Why did you wait all these years to come out? I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, do you think I want my fame that way?
Absolutely.
I would much rather have had my soul back then, you know, not stripped apart from me, than have to sit here and deal with this.
Yes.
So I've dealt with the repercussions and definitely some separation from my school, which has been painful. You know, since this all went down.
Sometimes does separate us from people that are toxic in our lives. So he has a plan and a purpose for you. We're out of time. I can't believe it. John, you have been such a wonderful guest, and I want to bring you back. We have to bring you back because...
Absolutely. Your story and my story are very similar. I also did the Hollywood scene, if you know what I mean. The whole casting couch, the crystal, the all the stuff. Then
you know everything I was involved with.
Yeah, I was living your story as you were talking about it, and it was healing. Thank you.
Yeah,
well, I would like to say that if there's anyone listening, you know, it's like I'm hopefully trying to put together a book, and anyone I can help, you know, I hope that this touches somebody, because that's what ultimately it's about now. The biggest thing I can do now is give back and share the story.
Absolutely. And you need to do men's retreats or conferences, because I think that there's more men out there that are hiding secrets, and once they can release it and know that they're not alone, that's really what it is. You're not alone. And for whatever reason, we shouldn't be hiding and how great we are as Christians, because all of us has garbage. Okay. So all of us have baggage, and not one of us are better than the other. I don't know why they throw away the people who are wounded, when the wounded ones are the ones who can actually expose truth. You know, so I thank you for that. And anybody need to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you, John?
They can the Instagram is JDG _official, and then JDG _ official, and then JDG, or reach out to you in your ministry, and I'm sure they can link up anyway.
Well, it's an honor.
I would love to come back anytime and continue.
I want you here with us. You should be. We can have all three of us. It could be the male version of Charlie's Angels,
except the clean version, the spirit-filled version.
That's it. Well, anyway, thank you so much, and God bless you, and I love you. And until next time, people, keep on pressing on.
For more information about I Pressed On podcast, visit chrisaugustministries.com. Find out who our next guests will be, as well as airtimes and dates. Please consider making a donation. Your donation helps fund all of the ways we spread God's word and testimony.